What's going on YouTube? Josh here checking in. Today we are talking about some upper body accessory movements. Why are we talking about that? Accessory movements? Everybody wants to know about how much you bench. Well, we're talking about accessories because you can't just build a big bench by just benching. Yeah, you should be doing a lot of benching, but you also have to be doing other movements. Now this right here, obviously, these are some weighted dips, and as far as the movements that you choose to use in your regimen for your accessories are going to be personalized to you. That's a big take home from this video. I'm just going to give that point right up front. What works for me, for my bench, what works for somebody else, may or may not work for you. And ultimately it's a matter of figuring out the things in your training that are beneficial, that are basically suited to your weaknesses. So I have weaknesses all over my bench press. So I do various exercises to address them. This right here obviously is the timeless classic, the floor press. I mean, come on, they were doing the floor press before they even invented the bench press. And this is a great movement because it really helps you take those legs out of the equation and push from a kind of uncomfortable position. Next up, one of my favorites is the overhead press. This is a movement that a lot of people suck at because it's really hard to make progress on this movement. The progress tends to come a lot slower, so a lot of people just kind of tend to neglect it. Quite frankly, I think that's definitely a flaw, and one thing when it comes to the overhead press is generally you increase your overhead press and that will translate to an increased bench press, whereas the converse is not true. You increase your bench, that doesn't necessarily mean your overhead press is coming up. As far as sets and reps are concerned for accessory movements, this is going to be highly variable depending on the person and really depending on how much volume you can handle. Obviously, the more advanced lifter will require more volume to see the same kind of results. They'll basically require a greater stimulus to make those gains happen, right? So there's no real set amount of volume that you need for your accessory movements. It's going to vary from person to person. As far as each set is concerned, in general, I like to stick with my accessory movements between 5 and 10. For the most part, I try not to really do too low on the repetition range because that generally means that the intensity is very high. And obviously, if you are doing high intensity for your primary movement, it's not really a smart idea to be doing such high intensity for your accessory movements as well, because that's going to impede your recovery. And therefore, you're going to actually end up inhibiting your gains instead of helping them, which is really the goal of these movements. So over here, these are obviously some weighted pull-ups, and this is definitely a favorite of mine when it comes to the upper body, specifically the back. These are really solid movement, and I prefer them to barbell rows. You'll see me in many videos do barbell rows, and I do those as well. The main issue I have with bent over barbell rows is that basically it does tax your posterior chain, and as a result of that, you know, if you're squatting and deadlifting heavy, sometimes that can kind of inhibit it. Whereas with the weighted pull-ups, it allows you to basically just isolate that back, those shoulders, those arms. One quick tip for these is basically to do sets that are relatively low in repetitions. One issue with pull-ups is people tend to do sets that are too high and then they basically burn out. So I usually stick with sets of 5 or 6 for these, and I just do many more sets. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to give it a like. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button, and I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. What are your favorite accessory movements for the upper body, specifically to target that bench press? What has worked for you and what has not worked? Be sure to comment below and I will get back to all you guys. I'll see you in the next video.